first act of the film where we're in the North Pole and the world they crafted, it's so simple. And you can tell it's made in a studio. They're not hiding the background. The sky ends, the horizon line is only 20 feet behind Will Ferrell.
Clearly a matte painting.
Yeah, but still you accept it because it feels like one of those claymation films, and it has the music, but it has the charm. I love the design of the North Pole. They did a terrific job crafting the film. And I like especially the architecture of all the North Pole homes, how it's like this wood but painted white, because it allows the colorful costumes to really pop on screen. And then using the incredible forced perspective filmmaking of seamlessly providing the illusion that Will Ferrell is a monstrous adult human compared to the elves. And it's all in camera. It really makes a difference when both actors can share the screen together. Especially, I love the classroom shot because it's a pan. And Favreau pans from the class of kids to Will Ferrell, and both he and that young actress nod to each other. But in reality, they're probably 20 feet away from each other in order to get that forced perspective to work. And they did a marvelous job crafting the first act of the film. And it does kind of make me miss it when we're in New York because it is so magical and so fun and so just inviting. I really think that the introduction of the North Pole really made the movie special.
Well, Favreau actually designed the North Pole in Santa's workshop, as well as the elf uniforms directly from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Mm-hmm. The elf uniforms completely mirror the ones from the television special. Most of the animals in the North Pole are also designed to look like the same form of stop-motion animation used in Rudolph, just like the snowman that he talks to as well. Now, forced perspective, basically the way they do that, like Anthony said, is they have either a very long set and they place the actors who are supposed to be elves further away from Will Ferrell, who's much closer to frame, much closer to camera, and then a little trick with the zooming in and the size of the set, make it seem like they're next to each other, like his desk is next to the kids' desks or the other elves' desk, but in reality it's about 10 to 20 feet away from those desks. And also those long table shots, those are super long sets, some sets built back to back to extend it, a room that's not really visually, when we're watching, it doesn't look like a long room. It looks like maybe 15 feet long, but really it's probably 30, maybe 50 feet long to get that forced perspective to make the walls not look that long, when in reality they're very long, but on screen they look pretty short. And it's actually really creative, it's practical, and it still works wonders because it's not CGI. It looks real because it is real. There are some imperfections here and there, but that's what brings some of that authenticity to it. It makes it look so good, and it's timeless.
Yeah, and the long lenses, they crush the space, so that's what makes it all seem like it's not, like the tables aren't as long as they really are in reality. And the long lens basically means it's basically zoomed in from a wide length of a lens. And it's also very complicated because the timing has to be perfect. You have Will Ferrell interacting with the other actors in the same shot, and say an elf actor is probably 10 feet away from him, behind him at least, but they're both supposed to be looking at each other. It makes it seem as though they're looking at each other while standing next to each other. So the timing is really precise on that. And also you would need a lot of light so that both actors are in focus with the longer lens, which is pretty difficult. Using a longer lens, you're likely to get, the subject is in focus, but the background will be a little blurry and out of focus. And so the only way to combat that is to use a lot of light in the set. That way, the more light you have, the higher f-stop you have, the less light that comes into the camera with the higher aperture means that more things are in focus in the image. So it's very complicated filmmaking. It's very simple, but it is quite precise. And I think they did a standout job. It's really seamless in a lot of ways. There are, like you said, a couple of moments where you can see that they're clearly not standing next to each other, but you only see that on repeat viewings, and if you know the imagery so well. And I also think it adds character to the movie.
Some other things they did for camera tricks or body double tricks is they would use actual little kids if their face isn't being shown. Like I think Will Ferrell, Buddy falls on top of either Papa Elf or some other elf, and what they did was just switch to, they put a little kid beneath Will Ferrell, like under a box, and their arms and legs are flailing. It looks like little children arms and legs, as well as when he's like a teenager and he's riding that tricycle and Papa Elf is on his back. A shot like that they cleverly did practically. It's not forced perspective, but what they have is the camera's up front on the kid in the front on the tricycle who's steering the way, playing
The human kid, yeah.
He's a human.
Yeah.
He's playing young Buddy. It's not like he's much taller than the Papa Elf character, but they're using a wide lens close up, so he's larger in the frame and in the perspective to the lens for the frame of the shot.
The closer subject to the lens will be much larger
for a wide shot. And then it's not a bike, it's a cart that they're standing on, and about 4 or 5 feet behind that boy is Papa Elf's character, that older guy, the older actor who plays Papa Elf.
The old guy.
And then in between them is a child whose hands are on top of Buddy the Elf's shoulders, so it looks like Papa Elf has tiny hands on top of this human boy's shoulders,
and his head's poking out,
and his head's poking out, but he's really like 5 feet behind Buddy the Elf. A great practical way to create forced perspective in a simple shot, but to show that he's really a human boy and have humans play these characters because elves don't exist, so you can't.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it. And I think some of the funniest bits of the movie are the flashbacks to Will Ferrell, to Buddy realizing that he's a human. He's like showering in the time